Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerf Herder Council.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget, if you're watching a replay, we are live every other Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, on YouTube and Facebook. If you're looking for the video replays, just go to our YouTube channel. If you want to catch the audio replays, just look us up on Google. Just Google Nerf Herder Council Podcast, and we're pretty much everywhere you can find your podcasts. So AJ and Steve are running a little bit late tonight, so I'm going to kind of preface our topics. So this is kind of an interesting one because we're talking about, and it's probably going to end up in an argument, at least an argument for as much as we argue, because AJ for the last, I'd say, month or two has been going back and looking at the Rise of Skywalker, and he's a really big fan of that movie. He's always, had its back. He's a big proponent of it, and all of a sudden lately he's kind of been like, now the more I watch it, it's kind of, I don't know if I like it as much, this that and the other, So I was like, are you starting to not like it? Yeah. He's really kind of turning his back on the movie, and I was like, admittedly, that's the movie that I have watched the least since its release. So I think I should go back and watch it and just refresh myself. I'm sure I'll hit on this as the show goes. But the story admittedly confused me. There were so many things that happened so quick that I've always been like, what's going on here? I've always loved it just because it's just a fun movie to watch. It moves really fast. There's all kinds of fan service, and I know a lot of people have a problem with that aspect of the movie, but for me, I don't mind it. It's being a fan as long as I have been. It's cool to me that there's all this kind of like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember that? Hey, guy, wink, wink, nod, nod. Like I like that. So I wanted to go back and rewatch it because AJ really seems to have kind of turned his opinion around, and I went and rewatched it over the course of the last two nights. And of course, as I've said before, it was in my VR headset in 3D and everything, so it was awesome. And I really think that AJ and I are going to have a pretty spirited discussion about this because his opinion has lessened, whereas mine has kind of increased. So since AJ is here now, let's bring him on and let's get into tonight's topic. How's it going, man? How's it going?
Hey, sorry about that.
It's all
hey,
good.
surprise, surprise. Technical issues.
Well, hey, I of all of us that has to sit here and just talk for a few minutes, better that it be me than you or Steve because I can talk.
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to just hang out for like 15 minutes and see what you came up with, actually.
I have plenty. They don't call me the human filibuster for nothing. So, anyway, so Joseph Friend's in the chat. What's up, Joe? What's up? Oh, our buddy Craig. What's up, Craig? Good to see you, man. Haven't talked to you in a bit. Nerf Herder Steve is in the chat instead of on the show. He's in the chat. So there you go. All right, so I'm just gonna say right off the bat. I don't know how much you heard when I was just talking a second ago, AJ, but I rewatched it over. Okay,
sorry.
Your opinion has gone down. I rewatched it over the course of the last two nights, and mine, I think, improved. So we're definitely going in different directions on this one. So I'll let you start because this was your idea. You are a big proponent of this movie, and now all of a sudden you're like, so
okay,
where is this coming from? So
yeah, where do I begin? Okay, so you remember going to see it for the first night. We had opening night tickets, and we both loved it. We were like spending so much time, right? We were like, as soon as the opening crawl started, we're like, dude, hurry.
All right.
Like, we've got a new rule with Steph where she's like, I can't be between you guys. Like, we can't do this anymore. Because we were shouting like right across the chasm.
Yep.
And Yeah, no, it was a great time to watch it for the first time in the theater, and that was amazing. But it's one of those movies that if you don't think too hard, then it's great. But the problem is it's on demand and we can watch it anytime we want, and it falls apart on subsequent viewings, and then you see all the things that like you weren't paying attention to because you were geeking out to all the new stuff. And yeah, unfortunately, like the more I roll it over in my head, the more I'm like, boy, this thing really falls apart. Like not just as a Star Wars movie, but just as a movie in general, like story wise and everything. I'm like, it's a bad movie. It is, without being Star Wars, a bad movie. The plot doesn't make sense. The character turns don't make sense. It's not like a dramatic story because let's start with, okay, well, we can go through this chronologically if you want.
I would just like to say one thing, and I won't say 100%, but if I may paraphrase Luke from The Last Jedi, everything you just said is wrong. It's weird, dude. It really is weird. As I was watching this, I was like, man, I am really, and I'll start right one quick point, and then you get to yours. I like where you're going. I think the story didn't quite make sense to me because there's so many. This happens, and I was like, wait, what? But now that I've seen it enough times, and I have some sort of a final like a grounding in it, a background to know what's coming. I realize, that's what's happening here. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, so now that I'm understanding it more, I really have a different appreciation for it. So, having said that, you wanted to break it down, so I'll let you break it down. So let you begin, because again, this is your topic. So,
Well, that's interesting you say that because I'm always torn between that when I watch a movie. Like, I don't want to be spoon fed to where it's like so stupid obvious that any idiot can get it because they're talking down to the audience. But at the same time, sometimes there's just gaps. Like, you should have explained that better. You shouldn't expect people to just get what you were saying with your artistic vision and everything. And yeah, we both agreed when we first saw the movie that the whole pace of the movie was just like breakneck. Didn't we actually say, like, as we were walking out of the theater, that maybe it should have been 2 movies? I know they want to keep the whole like 9
yes,
episode, keep a trilogy
yeah.
thing, but man, if you've got like 8.5 pounds of shit to cram into a 5-pound bucket, then maybe you need 2 buckets.
Yeah.
Like, damn. So I feel like a lot of that is at fault for the problems with the movie. Actually, is like there was just not time to make sense of a lot of the stuff. Like from the very beginning, first line of the opening crawl: "The dead speak." Great premise. Like, whoa, that I'm sitting up, I'm paying attention. Okay, I'm here for it now. It turns out that it was in Fortnite. So as long as you play Fortnite, you knew exactly what they were talking about. Like, why do I have to play a video game? Yeah, the actual broadcast from the Emperor was in Fortnite. So if you play video games, you knew what was going on in this movie. Sorry, I don't. So
I don't either, but I don't like that that's a concept. I didn't know that was a thing.
It's multimedia, cross branding, whatever. But yeah, so they put like a major plot point of the movie in a video game that's not even a Star Wars video game. It was just a tie-in. Wow. Like, come on, man. Like, when is the last time you walked into a Star Wars movie and was like, I don't know what's going on because I don't play that video game?
But did you know that going into the movie?
I had heard about it, but I purposely didn't look it up. I wanted to go in like, pure to the last movie.
Yeah. So, all right. So the CMS network, what's up, Aiken? He said he's in the chat, and he said, it fell apart after one viewing for him. And he's admittedly not a fan, but he watches them because he likes somewhat the original trilogy. He's a few years older than we are. So he says, I want to be a fan. The lack of continuity by having multiple directors and too many characters killed the last 3 for me. And we're going to get to that because I do have that. I do have that complaint as well, but some of that also got cleared up for me. back to your point, AJ.
I mean, we're literally one sentence into the movie, and you're already missing something if you don't play a video game.
See, I disagree though, because they immediately get into, it comes out. Oh, there was a transmission, from Palpatine or whatever. So I think, to me, that's what they were referencing. So, and they say it right in the crawl as well. The galaxy has a transmission from Palpatine. So I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, if it was in if another video game, yeah, okay, like maybe they released the full transmission or whatever. I don't know. I mean, you are familiar with it. Okay.
I'm sure it's on YouTube. I haven't looked it up,
but I mean, they explained it within the opening crawl, and then they said it in the dialogue within the first 20, 30 minutes. Like, I don't see that as a problem.
Is this one of those things like if you read a comic book, you can get more backstory, but you don't need it for the movie sort of thing?
I think so, because I don't know what would be. They already tell us in the movie what the transmission is. I'm gonna kick your ass, like all worlds surrender, or I'm gonna blow your ass away. Like it's there, it's right there. So
all right, how do you feel about the whole Emperor is back thing?
I have a two-sided view. We'll bring Steve in on this one because he's a big dark side guy. And
hello.
What's up, man?
8:15 already, huh?
No, we like this guy.
It's 8:27 somewhere. Oh, on our show it's 8:27.
No.
But
Parma's in that time zone where it's 12 minutes behind ours. So.
Yeah, exactly.
He's almost in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of see it both ways, because I've always thought that it wasn't really necessary. I mean, we've talked about it on the show, and it is a dumb thing to do, to go, oh crap, again, to Aiken's point, CMS Network, and we've said this ad nauseum, so it doesn't need brought up again, but if they would have had one cohesive story, you wouldn't have this problem. But the fact that they didn't, they had Snoke, and then all of a sudden in episode 7 they had Snoke. Episode 8, all of a sudden they kill him, and then you got to bring back J.J. Abrams. You're like, oh crap, now what am I gonna do? I don't have the big bad technically. So I agree that ham-fisting Palpatine in there, not a fan. But again, when I rewatched it, as I understood the story more, to me it kind of felt like it needed something that big. And while I don't necessarily agree with how they handled it, they should have teased that a little bit in the other two movies to really make it work. But in rewatching it, I was like, yeah, it has to be this massive. I had this feeling once I started understanding what's going on. Like, I was more into the story. I was more into the whole, this is the end of the saga. And I was more on the edge of my seat, even than I was on opening night. And so for me, I was like, yeah, like it kind of, in a way, only makes sense that the biggest ending to the biggest movie franchise ever has to have the biggest bad guy. And that's the Emperor. So in a weird way, I'm coming more to grips with it as time goes on, but I still don't think it was necessary. But because it's there, I can see why it's there. Does that make sense? I'm like, I know I'm fence riding. I completely know that I'm fence riding.
I hear you.
It does make sense, because it's like JJ started his story, and then it went so far off of what he wanted to tell in 8 that he almost had to make it ridiculous in 9 to try to bring the thing back home. Like you're trying to go full circle, and the damn thing went so far off the rails that it's like you had to be ignorant and like you say, ham fist Palpatine back into it, because it was like, what the hell else are you supposed to do with no time to tell a story and bring it back around now? Like you said it, and we've brought it up numerous times. It's like, if these two guys could have just worked together and made a cohesive story, we wouldn't even have anything to talk about tonight, because it would have been a great trilogy. So
do you think that the original plan from JJ was for Snoke to be the big bad guy? Like, it was never going to be Kylo?
I don't know, because if that's the case, well, you know what? You know what? I'm going to say yes, because I was about to say, well, if that's the case, then, the whole ending of the whole thing would just mirror Return of the Jedi, and it would just be a rehash. And look what he did with episode 7. So, of course, his idea was for Snoke to be the bad guy. He just wanted to rehash shit.
Yeah.
So what was his plan for Kylo then? To be just another Darth Vader?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, there was as much as we've talked about it and everything about how 7 was definitely had its rehash moments a lot. When you go back and ask that question, AJ, it's almost like, yeah, absolutely. Snoke was Palpatine and Kylo was Darth Vader. Like, with so much rehash in 7, you can't imagine that it was anything other than that it was going to be a mirror of Palpatine Vader again.
I do wonder also, AJ, if all the fan service was like, that's his crutch. He didn't have I'm going to rehash, the Palpatine Vader angle because now Snoke is gone. Here's Lando. Here's, all these, here's Wedge for a quick second. Like, like all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate to say that, but after episode 7, the way I feel about that, I don't give the guy the benefit of the doubt.
Sadly, that is a power move with these guys. If you make a bad script, a bad movie, whatever, they'll throw those things to the fans to go to throw you off the scent of a horrible story.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, hey, yeah, we're not telling a good story. Han Solo, hey.
Yeah,
see, and I think that just proves how Rian Johnson was right for making the decisions he did in Last Jedi. Like, he took everything that was totally predictable about 7 and was like, nah, let's turn that on its ear. So, yeah, we're going to kill Snoke because I know that that's the new Emperor. And then we're going to make Kylo Ren, the guy that you thought was going to turn good, be actually evil on his own. That was a great choice. And then to have him be under someone's thumb again in the next movie, I'm like, really? Like, it just undermines everything.
I don't think it was under his
thumb. It was a new twist on an old tale to have the apprentice turn on his mentor, but not to turn good, just to be the big bad guy. I loved that idea. And then they just walked it right back in episode 9.
Yeah, because the typical story like of Star Wars was exactly that. Then you think about, the video games that's under my name over here, the same story.
That it saw that, AJ.
Yeah. I think I just cost myself $800.
Oh, wow. But yeah, the same story. The apprentice turns his back on the master. So it's like it's a story we've heard in Star Wars numerous times, but that little bit that would have been, he turned his back on him, but he did it to be a bigger asshole than the other guy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? You're not evil enough. I gotta get in here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna one up you. So Joe, our buddy Joe brings up a good point. In hindsight, there was a detail everyone missed that could have led to Palpatine all along. In all the films, who has a parry in their lightsaber fighting style? Emperor Palpatine and Rey. I never thought about that. Like, everything else is pretty much just an offensive move. These guys they've got that one little defensive kind of blockish type of. That's very true. That's a very good point.
And somebody mentioned before that she lunged at Kylo in episode 7 and nobody else has ever used the lunge other than Palpatine in lightsaber battles.
I wouldn't put it
I didn't know what the hell she was doing, so you can't say that that's like
I really think that's more so just it happened. I really doubt that they wrote episode 7 and they were like, hey, Daisy, lunge at him. Nobody's going to catch on that this is a Palpatine thing. Like, I highly doubt that was in their thought process when they choreographed that.
Yeah.
That was planned out as the old guy in Return of the Jedi being Captain Rex.
Well, yeah. I like that. That's there though. Sorry, I'm a big fan of that one. I was like, that's like the coolest little Easter egg. Like, that's Rex. Just because they happen to have an old dude with a beard. I love that. That is just such a cop out. That's awesome.
we wrote this in '83, but we were totally thinking about putting a character in it that didn't exist for 25 years. Yeah. George
totally
was
had
really
Rex.
thinking
carrying
ahead.
Beskar in that Camtono or whatever the hell it's called.
The ice
It wasn't
cream
just an
maker.
ice cream maker at Clown City. It was money he was carrying.
And the beautiful
Right.
thing is they can just remaster it again and put Captain Rex in the credits. And guess what? It's canon now.
Yep. All right.
Super
So
extra secret special edition with D. Bradley Baker giving like one line.
Yeah.
not even. All right, AJ. So what else? So what else is really like messing you up about this movie all of a sudden?
All right, I'm going to skip past the Leia stuff because that was an unforeseen and unplanned and impossible situation. So we'll forgive the Leia dialogue. We know it doesn't fit right, but it's the best they could do.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about all the fake outs. Like
Okay.
all the dramatic stakes in the movie were like robbed of their weight because they all got undone. We'll start with Chewbacca.
That was
okay.
done too quick. Yeah.
I was just about to say that I don't have a problem with what they did with Chewbacca, but the fact that he died and was alive about 19 seconds later, that was a little lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should have let that hang a little bit.
Yeah.
C-3PO
Like, I barely-
dying.
Yeah, like the Chewbacca thing, I barely had time to sit there in the theater and be pissed about it. That I was like, because I told you guys the story before. I was like, in my head, I wasn't even enjoying the movie. I was like, how do I explain this one to my daughter, whose favorite character is Chewbacca? And like, is in my head that this is happening, he's alive again. I'm like, oh, okay, fuck it then. So,
Yeah. I agree with that one. AJ, you mentioned C-3PO.
Yeah, like the guy's had his mind wiped in canon before, so it's not really that dramatic, but then they made it sound like this is a big deal. And even that was undone. Like,
Well,
come on. He had his mind wiped between the prequels and the originals anyway, so yes, it sucks, but it's not a big deal.
But they specifically said, R2 R2 has his memory. R2's memory, whatever, is like notoriously unreliable, or whatever the hell the dialogue was. Like, they at least said that R2's got his brain. So I wouldn't say that it was undone. I would say they maybe cheapened it by kind of hedging their bets by going, one last look at my friends, when you already know that, well, they could save him if you just find R2.
yeah, they had his
and R2
memory
couldn't
backed
possibly
up.
have the map in episode 7 either.
They had his memory backed up on a thumb drive. Like everything was fine. It
Right.
started.
Right, like not a big deal. And why are they shitting on R2 this whole trilogy? Like he had like basically nothing to do in 8, and then they didn't even trust him in 7 to have a fucking map. Sorry, F-bomb, but I mean, I told you I'm fired up. And then
Well.
in 9, they're like, yeah, there's no way he could possibly have C-3PO's memories. Oh, wait. Like, come on.
Yeah,
They robbed us
okay.
of R2. They made R2 seem like this old piece of crap that couldn't possibly do anything.
Yeah,
that one I'll give you.
the garbage can that knew everything through the entire saga, but it came to the new trilogy and it was like, do we really trust this idiot with a map? Really?
But C-3PO can do everything.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to trust one or the other, I would trust the guy that's proven his mettle in battle over and over and over again.
Well, you
versus
know
the
what?
Butler.
Maybe the First
Butler.
Order. This was like one of those WWE ploys that the Resistance was like, hey, let's give everything to the incompetent one because they'll never think we'll do that.
Yeah. It's an interesting
Plus, they made
theory.
it so emotional about like C-3PO getting his mind wiped. I'm like, he's only known these guys like a blink of an eye compared to the rest of his existence, right? Like, he had like 6 movies of friends and memories and stuff, and then these people that are here for like 6 years of his life, now he's like, I can't bear to see you go. Like, come on.
They're spent
One last look at my friends for the next 2 minutes.
Right.
But they've spent all these movies humanizing him, though. I mean, that's like the whole point of the. That's why everybody loves him in R2s, because they're not just hunks of metal. They're like.
What would have been
humanized. It's
better?
like,
This was actually the angle I was going to take on this conversation tonight, was like, pick a point and then fix it. Don't have his memory be restored. Because one, it was hilarious. The whole like, he's one of my oldest friends, and he'd known him for like 15 minutes with Babu Frick.
Yeah.
It was like amazing.
Babu, not
so
Babu.
do that. Oh, sorry, Babu Frick.
Quit that,
yeah, like-
Lando. It ain't Han. I've got
Touche,
Babu Frick
touche.
right here. I've got Babu Frick right here. I can have him tell you himself.
So, yeah, like that would have been great. Like, okay, so his mind got wiped, but he's still C-3PO. That's fine. That's not tragic. That's hilarious, actually. I could have done for like 15 more of those, like, I just came online jokes, knowing that he's like 90 years old. That'd be amazing.
But then what are you going to do at the end of the movie? Like, you get to the end of 9 movies and C-3PO isn't C-3PO?
No, that'd be perfect. He gets to meet R2-D2 again. Like,
God
imagine him
damn
rolling
it.
up on the jungle planet and he like meets R2-D2. Come on.
Damn it.
That's
Damn
a
it.
1 to 9 tie-in right there.
Okay, see, now I'm on the fence because while that's a cool writing idea, I'm like, yeah, that's a very interesting way to do it. That's a good way to do it. Also, the other part of me that's been a fan since I was 4 years old is like, I can't have it not be all the people I know as the people I know. Don't start screwing with it right at the end of 14 hours of movies, or 18, 20, whatever the hell.
Well, no, that's why AJ's got a perfect point, because that right there just ties into the R2-D2 C-3PO Disney Plus series that they would make.
Oh, here we go with the marketing.
Cross
No,
marketing.
It's
you know
all
what?
about money.
You know what? I disagree because you know what? I'm sorry. You know what the other thing they could have done in this movie, if you want to kind of rewrite things, Lando Calrissian. Every single scene, he's he's cheesing and smiling like he's going into a battle against the Final Order, not knowing he's gonna get his ass kicked. And instead of being acting serious, like he's flying, he's like, yeah, woohoo! Like he's joyriding through the movie. Technically, you should be like, dude, there's serious stuff going on here. But half the time he's just cheesing and joyriding. Like, is that wrong? Yeah. But was it amazing to see? Yeah. Because you're like, now you guys each drop an F-bomb. I'm doing my one of the show now. No more F-bombs. It's like, fuck yeah, that's Lando Calrissian, man. I'm like, that's cool. It's like it's a culmination of everything. This is the one movie where you don't have to change things. And I would say that's maybe the one thing that I didn't like adding. Here's more characters like Janna and stuff. Very cool character. But when you're adding new characters in the 9th movie, you don't have to do that. Just stick with what you got.
I agree with that. Yeah. There was no reason to try to introduce new people in the last. You're not bringing somebody in that you've never met in the 4th quarter.
Well, yeah,
right.
There's no point in it.
Zori Bliss, Babu Frick, Janna, you name it. Keep
Yeah,
going.
that was
General Pride.
Yeah.
It's you don't need it, but yeah, dude, you kind of have to have that huge ending to everything. It's and that's what I got from rewatching it. And again, I think my enjoyment of it increased because I finally started to understand the story points, because it took me, God, at this point it's got to be 10 viewings to really understand everything that's going on. The whole Leia, she dies but she's not really dead, and then all of a sudden Ben Solo dies and then her body transforms to the Force. I was like, well, what the hell? She's been a corpse. Well, then, but they say in the dialogue, she knew that her Jedi path ended with the death of her son. Well, so she wasn't actually. She had put herself into Kylo Ren, and then when he died, okay, now I'm going. Okay, I'm like, okay, now I get that. All right, that makes sense to me now.
You're wrong,
instead,
but it's okay.
Well, please explain to me, because that's how I read it. Again, there's so many story things that go on in this goddamn movie. It's like it is frustrating, but I like it because they had to cram
the Leia Ghost
everything
thing
in.
is fine. The Leia Ghost thing is fine. It's not that she hung around waiting for him to die. It's just that she's a ghost. She can show up when she wants, and she chose to show up then. It's actually simpler than you made it out to be.
But she projected herself into him or whatever, turned him good or whatever. Isn't that what supposedly happened?
It was a Luke thing. She projected herself, and that stole her life force away, and she died. Yeah.
But then my understanding, because the dialogue was Leia knew that Leia said that her Jedi path would end when her son died. So my interpretation was that she stayed in Kylo Ren to help fight Palpatine, And then when Kylo dies, all of a sudden, then you see her transform into the Force and go away. So it's like she wasn't truly gone all the way because her son wasn't gone. Her path wasn't done.
Oh.
But she,
Okay.
that's what and again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've been a complete and total moron about this stuff before.
I was actually okay with that. I thought it just meant that in order for Kylo Ren to be redeemed, it would take her death. So she poured everything she had into speaking to Ben Solo to draw him out from Kylo Ren, and that was the culmination of her path, was redeeming her son. I didn't think it was like a literal, like you're talking about, like, until he's dead, I'm not done being a Jedi.
Well, no, but I mean, what I mean is like the Force. I like yours. I like yours as well. You know, I don't know which one. Man, that's tough because I really like that too, and I could see it that way. Like I said, with me, like I saw it as, you know, her body never disappeared, and as we know, the Jedi, like, they transform into the Force. Like, she's still under the sheet as a corpse. You don't see her.
That's right.
And that's why I was
That's
like,
weird.
You know, well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so was it truly Ben, like, in a redemption arc, or was, like, Leia in him enough to where she was, you know, I hate to phrase it, so controlling him, and then, you know, she was helping to defeat Palpatine with his power and her power, and
you know what would have helped would have been like one line of dialogue or something that lets you know that her life force is helping Ben do that. You know what I mean? Like, they spoon fed you everything else in that movie. So it's like, if that's what they wanted you to believe, like, one line of dialogue could have kept from that whole thought process, you know? So it's like, is that what it is? Or are you just making up shit on the fly? Like,
well,
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like we talked about, it should have been 2 movies. They rushed everything. Yeah. But again, now that I've seen it so many times, like, a couple things are making more sense to me, so I'm enjoying it more. And I mean, I like your interpretation, AJ, and I'm pretty sure that yours probably makes more sense than mine. But I like that it seems like there's actually an explanation to that. You know, I never caught before, like, because everything goes by so quickly. I never caught the end of her Jedi path was her son dying. It's like, okay, whatever. You know, okay, Kylo Ren's gonna die. Okay, I took it as a throwaway line until I finally saw it so many times that I'm like, oh yeah, like, she hasn't transformed into the Force yet, so she's still out there somewhere. So what's going on? And then all of a sudden he goes, and then she goes. So it's like, okay, so there's there's, you know, maybe there's gray area in the middle. I would side with you because I'm generally the moron between the two of us. So,
see,
you know,
no, you have a different viewpoint of it, and that's fine. That's absolutely as valid as mine, and that's the great thing about Star Wars, is everyone gets something different. But it ties into the bigger problem of, I just feel like so much of this movie, they were so desperate to tie it back into the original 6 that they robbed the new characters of, like, their own agency. Like, they all had to find some way to tie it back to something from the first 6 movies, because there's no way, like, the filmmakers themselves didn't believe that, like, Poe and Rey and Finn and Kylo were important enough on their own to find a satisfying conclusion to the whole saga.
But
So you had to make Rey a Palpatine, and you had to make Kylo's thing be tied into Leia, and you had to have Finn have some sort of tie-in that was left vague for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, Finn and Poe's, like, whole story arc just kind of fizzled out to nothing.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
so, like,
why
the new threads they gave, like, no payoff to, and then the ones that had, like, the most meat on their bones, they're like, well, here's all this original trilogy stuff that they're tied to. Like, it was fine. It was actually, they were doing a good job of building a new core characters, and they should have just let those core characters ride the saga out instead of being like, nope, Palpatine's the big bad guy, and Kylo and Rey, which is the crux of the entire sequel trilogy, you're both pawns in his scheme.
But why are you surprised? JJ started out the whole trilogy by completely shitting on the new characters because it's, hey, here's Han, Luke, and Leia. You know, and then Ryan Johnson comes in the middle, and it's totally a Rey and Kylo Ren story.
There's
and you got
sometimes
Luke
you
in
can
there. He
rehash
totally.
old points, which would be great. Like so
But
when Luke in Empire Strikes Back
okay,
ran
I'm sorry to
off
cut
to
you off,
Cloud
but
City.
let me finish though. I'm surprised that you're surprised.
I was
Remember
going
your
somewhere
point.
with
I'm
that.
sorry. I know I am too.
I'm not
That's why I want to finish
surprised.
my.
I'm not surprised.
J.J. Abrams crapped on the new characters in favor of legacy in Episode 7. Then when he's handed this movie, Episode 9, all of a sudden, like where he thought it was going to go, like if he's going to ride Snoke and everything, and Ryan Johnson took that away, what's he going to do? He did the exact same thing he did in 7. This is not surprising.
I don't agree with your point about 7 though. Yes, the legacy characters lived alongside the new characters, but I don't feel like any of the new characters are overshadowed by the legacy ones.
By Han Solo? Are you kidding me? Everyone's
They killed off
overshadowed
Han
by.
Solo. If anything, that's a callback to Episode 4 when Obi-Wan died.
We don't discuss that, AJ. That is, yeah. Remember your point. You'll come back when you stop talking about Han Solo like that.
I do get what you're saying, John.
All right,
where it's
AJ's
like
back.
they, like where you're saying that it's not so much that the legacy characters overshadowed; it's the fact that they were there. Period. Essentially, I think is what you're getting at. That it's like,
Yeah.
hey, here's this whole new story we're trying to tell with new characters, but oh yeah, Han, Chewie, we're home. Like you advertised it with the legacy characters, and one of the other problems I think was that JJ screwed up on is that not that it's a problem, but in Episode 7 they put so much stock into Finn as a character, and then they decided to go nowhere with it in the last 2 movies. Like he was non-existent in 8, and he was basically we bring up wrestling a lot. He was a curtain jerker in Episode 9. And so it's like it's like why did you build him up to basically be almost on par, if not maybe one little step below Rey, as the main character in the movie. And then in Episode 8 he was in it for 6.5 minutes, and then Episode 9 I say he was a secondary character storyline that had nothing to do with the main story essentially anymore. And it was just like all that added up, just it was like doomed from the beginning because of that.
Yeah. I'm bring up a few comments here real quick. So our buddy Sherrick, what's up, man? He says he agrees with all of us. I do agree that the Emperor returning would have been even more grand. It would have made more sense if the seeds were planted in 7. Snoke being killed in 8 took JJ's new Emperor away. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty plain.
Yep.
That's and then he kind of panicked going into Episode 9. Oh crap! Now what do I do? Like, and our buddy Joseph Friend, this is a good one. Is it as simple as this? The conversation with Han Solo was supposed to be with his mother as a Force ghost, but for obvious reasons, they had to do something different. I've never thought of that, and that is a great point. And for those of you like not watching live to really get like, man, so what he's saying is that was supposed to be Leia, but because Carrie Fisher had passed away, they couldn't do that, so they had to replace it with Han. That makes a ton of sense. I never thought about that because that's the one thing that when I was rewatching it, I was like, yeah, why is Han here? As much as it was awesome for me,
right?
I was like, he should be here.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even in the theater, we all kind of had that collective, "What the hell is Han doing here?" Thing right now. So yeah, it was definitely odd.
Like
the scene was fine, but it just seemed kind of out of place.
Yeah,
as
it was
much
odd.
as this is a Festivus airing of grievances about the movie, the Han Solo scene was not one of them for me. I'm like, yeah, he killed his dad, so I get why that would be the memory would haunt him. So then he would have to make peace with that to move on.
Well, and Han did say, right? He says Kylo says you're nothing but a memory, and Han Solo says I'm your memory.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think
by comparison, in Episode 8. Kylo Ren refused to fire on the bridge of the ship to kill his mother, and the escorts did for him. So
yeah,
he had nothing to atone for with his mother.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I mean, I think Joe's point is a valid one. You really could look at it that way, that it was supposed to be Leia.
then we
But
got
they
lucky
couldn't.
that it couldn't be, because I think it plays out better with Han in that position.
How?
Like I said, I think he had unfinished business and he had guilt surrounding what he did to his father. He had no guilt and no reason to have a post-mortem scene with his mother. The last thing he did to his dad was run a lightsaber through him. The last thing he did to his mother was not fire on her.
Yeah, man, that's damn it. You keep putting me on the fence with these stupid points of yours.
Well, I think if anything, we're just pointing out the inaccuracies between the two damn directors that screwed all this up.
Well, I don't think Ryan Johnson screwed anything up.
No. It's just the fact that the two of them did not make a cohesive story. So I'm not, if anything, I would have been fine if JJ would have made all three. If I had a preference, I would have rather Ryan Johnson made all three. Like, I just would have, if I had to choose, I would have wanted Ryan Johnson. But if I would have just had a cohesive story that Numbnuts made without somebody else stepping in and writing a whole different middle section to it, I would have tolerated it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have been that mad.
Right when you said numbnuts, I still wanted to grab my Babu Frick and hit the foot and hope it goes, hey, like, I'm like, please be that soundbite. Please be that soundbite. Yeah, I don't know. I just, as I keep thinking about it, like, I just think JJ really, I hate to say it, but I really wonder if the Colin Trevorrow version wouldn't have been better in episode 9. Like, in terms of story, like, again, rewatching this one, I actually enjoy it more than I ever have. I'm excited to go rewatch it again and get more and more of it. But
maybe I should try it then, because
well,
yeah.
You know why
the
though?
thing I like about the Colin Trevorrow version is he actually leaned into the new characters instead of leaning on old characters to tell a compelling story. He's like, no, we got these, and they're good.
Yeah.
Like, well, I want to know more about Finn. I don't want to know that Poe was a spice runner at some point, because it doesn't matter. I don't care that Rey was the daughter or granddaughter of anybody, and Kylo Ren was on his ascension to be a bigger badass than Vader and maybe even the Emperor. So run with it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and General Hux wasn't a turncoat. God damn it!
Because we went
round and round.
Can die, Hux can be a turncoat.
We went round and round with it for years leading up to 9 about the rumors of Rey being a Kenobi or that she was a Skywalker. This, and we all kind of collectively came up with the point that it was like, being Rey nobody would have been the better story, because it would have shown that, like, it wasn't just that you had Kenobi blood or Palpatine blood, that anybody could have been there. Like the little kid at the end of episode 8. It's just like, so all of a sudden in your head, you're like, okay, what family line did he come from? Is he a Skywalker? Yeah. Is he a Palpatine? Is he a Fisto? Yeah, like what the hell? Yeah, so it's like they kind of gave us this story that's like, oh, if you have Force powers, you have one of 5 last names, and you're stuck with that. You know, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Small galaxy syndrome.
Yeah.
But JT, you'll get this reference. It's like in Star Trek V. Yes, I went Trek. When Kirk's like, Spock, you told me you didn't have a brother. He's like, technically you are correct. I have a half brother. So for 8 to say that, like, Rey came from nobody. Yeah, her parents were nobodies, but her grandfather, see? Like, come on. Weak sauce.
Well,
terrible.
Even that now, apparently canon is that Snoke was an evil clone of Palpatine, and apparently Rey's father was too now. So now she is not nobody, and it goes to grandfather. It's just that it was down the line the whole damn time.
Well, but they didn't say that Rey's father was a clone. They just said Palpatine's son.
That has actually come out in, I think, the comics since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just read something like earlier today about that. That's actually up on like the Star Wars website now that actually verifies Snoke being a Palpatine clone and a reject, and Rey's father was a rejected Palpatine clone or something too.
Mhm.
Well, they sure presented him as a pretty handsome dude for a clone reject then.
It looked nothing
Yeah,
like
right?
the Emperor pre, Sith lightning. So
And
Yeah.
it looked like he was married to Maya Rudolph, so, you know. Every time I see that, I'm like, is that the chick from Saturday Night Live? Like, so,
is that the judge from The Good Place? What?
yeah, I don't know, like that whole thing, like it's just okay. Again, I know that so many things are shoehorned in there, and there's a lot that can't be explained away. But once I understand the story, at least better, I can't say I understand it all the way because I really think there's so many things that are just difficult to explain. It's the one movie where you can't black and white. This is what it is, you know. I was watching it, and it felt like Star Wars. It was moving fast, and it was exciting, and there's all this stuff that I like, and it was like, you know, again, granted the story's a little confusing, but it just felt Star Warsy to me, and admittedly, I've always had that vibe about this movie. There's always been something about this movie from the first time I saw it. I'm always like, man, this is a little messed up. Like, parts of this are really effed up, and yet the other part of me is like, yeah, this is exactly what I love about Star Wars. Like they screwed up the story and you know, and the different plot points and everything, trying to cram everything in at the last minute. But they really nailed the heart and soul of really the whole entire saga. I mean, there's so
I'll
many
give you
things in there that
that,
feel like
like-
Star Wars. Like, and so I guess I can't fault it for that.
There's a lot of the first few movies, especially the original trilogy, where they just played fast and loose, right? Like they weren't super concerned with legacy or continuity or anything, to where they were just like, yeah, we're gonna make some backhanded references to the Clone Wars here and talk about how, you know, your father was a pilot on a spice freighter, which makes him a drug runner, actually.
Yep.
No one cared. It was just like, it was world building, but it was just background noise, really. It was just fun. And yeah, this movie has at least that flavor to it. It's like, you know what, we're going to tell some stuff, and it might not all line up, but it's just kind of like, you don't need to know about that anyway. Just that's not the story we're telling. Just don't pay attention to that.
Well, I think honestly, what I agree with you on a lot of points. I think you're going south and I'm going north with this movie, and I don't know where you fall on this one, Steve,
I was actually
but
giving credit to your last point that yes, vibe wise,
So,
it feels like
sorry.
original trilogy,
I'm-
but
I'm
yeah,
gonna
9 movies in, it needs to have its own rules. It needs to play by its own rules when
Yeah.
you're the 9th movie in the saga.
I'm gonna side note for like a minute and just read what I was reading earlier to you. The Star Wars website now says, the article says, Destiny and contingency would catch up with Rey in the form of the First Order, led by one of Palpatine's evil duplicates called Snoke. Although Snoke was unsuccessful in bringing Rey to Palpatine and was unexpectedly killed by his protege Kylo Ren, Palpatine continued to pull the strings in order to reel his granddaughter, and then in quotations, or not quotations, in a whatever, it says Rey, whose father was also a failed Palpatine clone, so he could finally achieve the ultimate power. So Star Wars says on their website now that Snoke and Rey's father were failed clones.
Are we even clear on what Palpatine's plan was, by the way?
No,
It sounded
they
like,
just say
you know,
they just say
You got to
ultimate
kill
power.
her, and then it was like, no, bring her to me. And then
Yep.
his plan was, no, she's got to kill me so I can live forever. Like it seemed
Well-
like he had 3 different ideas throughout the movie.
well, okay, he wanted, because he's been going through clone bodies. I think that's
Mhm.
the inference, and and the whole thing, like, and he says in episode 9, again, these are things that I finally realized. I think it's why it's like enhancing my enjoyment of the movie. Like he says, you know, if when you kill me, my spirit's going into you, and then basically all of her power and all of his power, like they're basically the most mighty being in the entire galaxy, like that's ever lived. So it's this combination of power, and because his clone bodies keep failing and everything, like he's in this like vibrant, young, strong, actual human body, all the power's in there. You know what I mean? So that
And
was
he
the
would
whole
be
thing.
the dominant personality, like he would just take
Well,
over Rey.
Yeah,
Okay,
pretty much.
Okay,
And so, and that's why, when he figures out the whole life force thing, when he does this, and it's like, oh my God, his fingers come back. He's like, you're a force dyad, like you're feeding me. He's like, well, screw this killing me shit. I'm just gonna take all your energy. So that's why he does that. He's like, I don't need to die. I'll just take this and I get all of it without even having to croak. Like it's the whole selfish Sith thing. So
It's funny how many times he
That should have been
surprised
clear in the
himself
movie.
for.
I shouldn't have needed you to tell me that.
well, but again, there's a lot of things that they don't
That's
clarify.
my problem with it. I'm saying it's a bad movie.
I don't think
The
it's a
story
bad
might
movie.
make sense, but they didn't tell it right.
There's a lot
Palpatine
of
surprised
unexplained
himself
things,
a
but-
lot for a guy that always said it's been foreseen.
Yeah.
Like the guy acts like he knows everything that's ever going to happen, but then he's like, "Oh, hey, this is different."
So, well, again, he's going through clone bodies. They keep getting crappier and crappier. Apparently, that's why he needs Rey. It's like these clone bodies blow. Like I keep screwing up visions now. Like everything's failing. Like
It's
Dude,
just like
we're gonna get into the stuff from the '90s at some point because I've told you offline about the story, Dark Empire, where they did it way better than this whole like, oh, I cloned myself thing. It's like, no, he's always been a clone. Like he's been going through bodies time after time after time. If they had built that in and be like, yeah, this was just the latest one that died, but there's been a bunch of them and you just never knew, I would actually buy into that more than,
crap.
well, you thought I died, but really this is the first time and I really didn't get it right.
they were just mirroring real life. Like when the Egyptians were trying to keep the bloodline pure, and then they realized the more and more incest, the more and more of the bodies got fucked up. Like Palpatine was just clone. And it just kept getting worse. Like every time it was just going downhill.
Yeah, right. So,
Or like Van
real
Halen
quick-
with Wolfgang on bass.
there he goes again. So, we don't make Han Solo death
All right,
jokes
you
on
kicked
the
him
show.
out. I was leaving,
we
so I
don't-
didn't have to be part of
We,
that.
we don't make fun of Van Halen. So Weaver, what's up, man? Good to see you. So Weaver says, just tuned in, so I don't know if you guys already talked about this. We're revisiting something, but I think Janna and Zori Bliss were pointless characters. Yes, we actually did address that, and we are 100% agreement.
Yep.
With you on that. Yeah, introducing new characters.
Bring those two in episode 8, for all I care. But trying to bring them in the last bit of the entire story was ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, Joseph Friend's on my side. You don't say that kind of crap, AJ. So shut up. We do not make Van Halen jokes on this show, okay?
Oh, come
Wolfgang
on.
Wolfgang Van Halen's record is awesome, and Van Halen is awesome, so shut up. All right. Yeah, look, Joseph Wren. I'm all the Sith. Like, what do you mean? Like, literally? Like, you're actually all the Sith and never really figured out that cloning machine? Could be.
It would have been better if Palpatine like raised up his shirt and it looked like Freddy Krueger in like the 5th movie when all the heads were
with
there.
all the heads,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just all the Sith, and you're like, no, I'm literally all the Sith,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. It's just like, and I am all the Jedi. He goes, hold on. No, check this out. Seriously. Look at it. There's Revan. There's Vader.
Check this guy out back here.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's just a zit. But anyway, wait a minute. That's a boil. I got to get that one checked out. Son of a bitch. I thought that was the dark side. Wow. All right. I was wondering who that guy was. Yeah, I think AJ, like to your point about like, things being confusing and stuff. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think the difference between this movie and the other ones is all the other ones had these major plot points, like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different things in the movie. There's major things, and then you'd have like expositionary stuff in between. I think with episode 9, it's plot point, plot point, plot point, plot point, plot point, plot point. Like it's literally too much stuff stuffed into one movie. So there's not enough
talk
time
about
to
like
explain.
a straight rule break, like the timeline makes no sense.
A little bit all that.
Explain to me. Can you explain to me how they had like a year and a half between episode 8 and episode 9 in universe I get why no one showed up in episode 8 to save him. That's fine. Year and a half goes by. Nobody shows up to help him. But then Lando has like half a day to go through the entire galaxy in a massive fleet. And holy shit, they all show up.
Can we just say it's not even half a day? It's like literally like 2 hours.
Right, exactly. Like he can't even travel to all those points in 2 hours, let alone convince people.
He can light
Like,
skip.
what
He can
the
light
hell
speed
was
skip.
that?
He can light speed skip. We found that. That's what the light speed skip was for in the beginning.
What is he doing? Dropping pamphlets?
Well, no. Clearly.
That's a scene I want to see.
Come
Light
join
speed
us on
skip-
this planet that no one can get to, but I can. Yeah, that's another thing. He got to Exegol.
They light speed. No, dude, I'm telling you, they light speed skip. It shows a zzz, they're in a city, and you see Chewie come out the little hatch at the top, like, and just bunch of paper flies and zip into hyperspace again, and it just happens like 17 times.
They're flying the Falcon around. It's got one of those banners.
What's up, Thrasher, man? Good to see you.
It's got
buddy.
one of those banners off the back of it, like at a baseball game.
Right.
It's join Lando and Chewie to fight the Final Order, and then there's behind it. It's like 2 asterisks. Rent this banner at 800-476.
No,
Exegol. Ever heard of it? Join us.
help us out on Exegol. We'll have punch and pie.
More people show
people
up if you say you got punch and pie.
Damn you
Hera-
guys!
Hera's there in the ghost. She's like, I was under the assumption that there would be punch and pie. There is no punch and pie. She just turns around and leaves.
Good taste, huh? Good taste, huh?
I was
Yeah, like
see that's
everything
a
about the Emperor's plan was just overwrought, complicated, and crappy. Like it was all piss poor. If I got 10,000 Star Destroyers, I can send them out like one at a time, and maybe they can hang out somewhere else for a while instead of like, nope, we all got to leave together. That's it. Like this is not women going to the bathroom. Okay.
Well,
it's
but
a fleet of starships.
But they did explain that too, because of like the electrical interference or whatever around there. That's what that whole radio tower thing was for, or something. So even
AJ,
that, I
they,
was like,
they
oh, okay, at
clearly
least
needed a better Wi-Fi signal to be able to pull that off. So.
the Final Order could figure everything out except how to make their giant starships anything but remote control.
Yeah.
Palpatine
Yeah,
could
exactly.
figure everything out except for 5G.
Yeah. See, there's so much to be mined here for Star Wars Robot Chicken. You know,
Yeah,
I've got to release the final order starships. What's the Wi-Fi password? I can't get them to release here. What's the?
the whole movie turns into a commercial for Verizon.
product placement.
If Palpatine would have had Verizon's coverage,
The password is Exegol66. No, there's no I in Exegol.
Palpatine's sitting there with an iPad. And goddamn T-Mobile internet.
Stupid Obama phone. I'm trying to release my starships. I knew I should have paid for my own
Bullshit.
bill.
He's so old, he's got a cricket.
He's got a rotary phone.
He's got a jitterbug. That's what those things are called.
Jitterbug.
Ray,
I only have 4 fingers. This takes me a while.
He's like dialing. One of the fingers pops off like a bone. Like, oh, come on!
Ray and Ben are in front of him down there, and he's like, "Who is that?" He gets his little glasses out.
He's got reading glasses.
Oh, you two!
Mark Thrasher. Oh, you're getting shut down now. Yeah, probably.
Come closer, my dear. Like,
my base is falling.
What? Did
Sorry,
you really
I'm doing
not?
this a show like this? I knocked
Did
my
you-
green screen down. It
Are you
finally
serious?
happened.
let it happen. There you go.
There we go. It's on my head now.
Is it being held up by a bass guitar?
It's being held up by my head. Like my head. This is the green screen right here.
He's got a green
That's
screen
my-
Palpatine cloak.
Yeah, see,
Cloak
that's
on
my
now.
wall. That's my wall. And if I go like this, there we go.
This has devolved into complete ridiculousness. My
This
goodness.
is a shit show. It's like I'm trying to cast lightning to 10,000 Star Destroyers simultaneously or something.
I'm so powerful. Look, I get.
It's just getting worse. It's just getting worse. Forget this.
Well, let
This
it
is
go.
critical failure.
Hey, princess, let it go.
I'm just gonna wear it. I'm gonna wear it and own
There
it.
you go.
That's fine.
Hey, look,
It'll-
you can see me and you in the corner in your
Right.
picture frame. There's us at Celebration with the lightsabers.
I was wondering how long it was gonna take for this to happen. Like I knew at some point on this stupid live video thing, this thing was gonna fall down. So yeah, we're good.
Joseph friend, AJ must be getting ready for the next prequel. Mark Thrasher,
Oh my God.
still 100 times better than episode 8.
Oh,
See, this is why you got to tune into the show, man. Like, you don't come here for the intelligent discussion. You come here for the assholery. If you want
I
intelligent
just
Star Wars discussion, go
zoom in?
elsewhere.
this
Yeah.
is how I zoom. I just bring the laptop really close. Here we go. All
And
right, we're
freeze.
good.
There we go.
Got you. Good
Look at this. Oh my
thing I
God.
got an Ultrabook. This is nice and light.
Man, Steve, you need
Oh
to
my God!
exfoliate.
What a disaster! What
Holy
a disaster!
gosh. Wow.
I literally have a green screen on my head right now.
This
I'll tell you what,
is
Rise
awesome.
of Skywalker still sucks. It's a good thing we're an hour in because now it's time to wrap up. I haven't
Yeah.
gotten to all the problems yet, but that was awesome. They
Ugh.
did ride horses across the Star Destroyer, though. That was cool.
Orbacks. Can we stop that? That's not cool.
Orbacks.
I get the concept, but I'm sorry. That part was the one I still couldn't. I'm like, dude, like,
We,
Okay, last question. This is just tossing it out to the audience and to you guys. What was Finn, in your mind, going to say as he thought he was dying, sinking into the sand?
that he wanted to bone Ray.
That's the most obvious thing.
Yeah, I think that was
That was my
It-
assumption.
at that point of the 3 movies. You got to assume it was the absolute easiest thing that it could have been at that point.
He was going to ask her for dating advice to ask how he should hit on Rose.
I was going to say Poe, but damn.
Ah.
Yeah, no, JJ has said he was going to say he was force sensitive. Why the hell would that be the last thing you would say if you're going to die?
Yeah,
She already-
if you're force sensitive, save yourself, dummy.
Like, of
Or
all the
just-
things, like the last thing on your mind, you got to get out there. Yeah, I got this thing. No.
See,
Ray,
we
just no.
Ray, before we go, Ray, you ever had your asshole licked by a fat man in an overcoat before?
Right. Ray, I have something to tell you. I'm lactose intolerant.
Weaver's right with us. I think he's going to say he was force sensitive, but I don't know why. That's so random. Yeah. Like, yeah. What else things could he say? Ray, there's rocks over there. Yeah, we're in a desert. Like, just the most randomly stupid thing ever. I have a bunion. Ray, I never told you. I got a rock in my shoe. God, this is really uncomfortable.
Ray, Depeche Mode was a really sweet band.
Ray, what flavor's your favorite cheesecake? Ah! we could keep going on this forever.
Ray, I've had my salad tossed. We all wear helmets in the First Order. Nobody knows who does what.
Ray, they're gonna bring back the McRib next month.
Ray, I never told you that. I wonder why is it spelled with an E and not an A? Isn't it supposed to be R-A-Y? Like look at this. Joseph Wren. AJ's holding his camera so it looks like a strange German talk show. Who needs depth perception? Yeah,
This is a year of practice using my phone for Google Meet for stand-ups at work when I don't want them to know that I haven't gotten out of bed yet, so I use my phone to dial in. That's what this is.
Fair enough.
You better hope none of your coworkers ever watch the show.
Oh, shit, man. We've been trying for 6 years to get anybody to watch the show. You think my coworkers do?
Right.
True.
Well, we might have to revisit this again sometime, AJ, because I rewatched it over the last 2 nights, like I said, and I was just watching it being like, I really like this more than I remember. Like, this is my enjoyment is like and I know that like all the plot holes are there and a lot of things are unexplained, but it's always just so much fun. And now that some of the story things are kind of making sense to me, while they're rushed, at least they're making sense. And
do you think this is a case of the prequels where as we get like the Mandalorian and other stuff to flesh out these plot points that the movie will improve?
It might, but like I say, it's taken me a lot of viewings to kind of understand some of the story points that were in there. Like I find myself going, oh, that's what they mean. Or I noticed little lines of dialogue that should have been. I think the whole thing, like, I can't say it's a bad movie like you did, but I will say there was a lot of things that were presented poorly. Like there wasn't enough emphasis on the right syllable, as people like to say. Like it's, little things like, when Zori, like when all those ships show up, it was like, oh, we got a signal for Babu Frick. Like Babu Frick said, oh, geez, seriously, again with these fucking Purgles.
Joseph Wren wins the friggin' night right there.
Joe, what I tell you about the fucking Purgles? Enough with the motherfucking Purgles. They suck. God damn it with the Purgles. I hate those things. Oh. And you're making it worse. I was going to text you and talk to you about your band because I listen to your songs. Now I'm not. I'm going to withhold my view of your band. Damn you. In fact, go name your band Purgle, smart ass. Jesus. So anyways. Now I forget where I was at. Damn Purgles got me off track.
Well, on that note, it's about time to wrap up shop.
Yes. But
close up shop. Sorry.
Yeah, close up shop. Yeah. Oh, look at this. All right, we'll end one question. All right, so our buddy Thrasher asks. We'll end on this question. What kind of movie could they make to wrap up the end again with George Lucas in charge? I definitely think he would.
The problem with the entire sequel trilogy is I never thought that there was a really good jumping off point from Return of the Jedi to justify another trilogy. He did a good job of wrapping it up.
Yeah.
So
I think he definitely
you got to ask
off.
Where does it begin to figure out where would it end?
No, I think because you would have had J.J. Abrams doing 7, Rian Johnson doing 8, and Lucas doing 9. I think he definitely would have played off the stuff in 8. There wouldn't have been fan service and all that stuff. He would have taken that weird route that Rian Johnson took and probably got weirder with it.
Mm-hmm.
So at least
and
it
probably would have made sense that way because it was the most recent entry, so it would have made more sense to play off of 8, even if you hated the story.
Yeah, it would have definitely been very, very original. It would have nothing to do with Palpatine. Man, I obviously I think would have to center around Rey. I think he would have really embraced that. I mean, I think he's been on record saying he's a big fan of that character. Yeah, I can't really say what. I just know that it would have been I wonder what would have been better received: Rise of Skywalker that we got, or a George Lucas finale? Because like George would have done something pretty out there. You would have to think, because he always
Probably.
wants to do something original and not rehash anything. And the fact that Ryan Johnson took it in such a an interesting new direction, it's nothing like anything Star Wars has ever done. Like that gives George even more carte blanche to kind of like mess with things. But he also has to tie everything together. So
Yeah, like I feel like he would have to. Like, what could you do? Have Kylo be the biggest asshole in the galaxy, and then Rey redeems him, so the First Order doesn't have to fall. It just stops being a controlling, like, tyrannical empire. Or is there a bigger threat out there that they have to unite against, and that's how he turns? Is like fights for good because it threatens his empire as well. I don't know.
oh, but that's kind of like Episode 9, though. I mean, he has to fight the Final Order. That's kind of exactly what happened in a way.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I
don't
don't know specifically what he would have done. Thrasher, sorry for that question, guys. No, Mark, it's a very, very good question, actually.
Yeah. Way to put a good question out there when we're trying to close up. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm trying to drop F-bombs about Purgles because that idiot Joe keeps screwing with me. And here you are asking an intelligent question. Weaver says definitely be a Jar Jar cameo as a street performer. No. We do not reference Chuck Wendig books on this show. Chuck Wendig is Chuck Wendig is a douchebag. Wendig is a douchebag. So, and Joseph Friend is agreeing with you, Weaver. But Joe, as we've said, you can shut the hell up. Your opinion's valid on this show until you bring up the damn Purgles. So, I could block you from the chat. I should do that one week. Because as soon as I see Purgles, I'm just going to block them, and then the show's over, I'm going to unblock them. Yeah, I'm wondering what story points George would have taken from Episode 8 to like use as threads to like tie the whole entire Skywalker saga together. Because at that point, he would have to tie all 9 together. So what would he do to tie something together that he considered was already complete after 6?
More prequel stuff is all I could think of. Because Palpatine is the only really true carryover from the prequels. There was, Luke Skywalker's snapshot of the fall of the Jedi in Episode 8, but otherwise, the prequels didn't factor in much to 7, 8, or 9.
Or do you think it might be more Luke stuff? Because as long as Joseph, love you too, Joe. You're hilarious. Do you think it might be more Luke stuff because it kind of went down that path of the Jedi, Luke learning about the true wrongs of the Jedi and how they failed, and maybe like it's maybe the redemption story in the end is like the redemption of the Jedi somehow. Rey figures out how to bring the Jedi back. Maybe that's where it all comes. Like Luke wanted to resurrect the Jedi, but he failed because the hubris and all that kind of stuff and the arrogance. Like maybe Rey figures out through the course of the movie like how to do this, and it's like the Jedi. And in that case, you could still call it the Rise of Skywalker, kind of, or kind of. Maybe it'd be that. Maybe it'd be like how the Jedi finally are able to be resurrected.
I think that'd be a cool idea. I'd be down with that. I thought that's where it was going, kind of. Rey's got to be the one to bring it all back.
Yeah.
But not in the same form it used to be. So Luke's whole thing of the Jedi need to die, yes. But that doesn't mean that what they stood for has to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question, Mark. That's damn near a whole topic. Like to think about it for 2 weeks.
Next time on the Nerf Herder Council,
we answer Mark Thrasher's question. So, all right. Well, yeah. On that note, why don't we get out of here? That was a spirited discussion and more F-bombs than we like to drop. But what the hell? When Purgles come up, I lose my shit. So,
let's say say we. AJ and I both had one.
Well, you guys don't have you guys aren't triggered like I am. I get triggered by Purgles. Oh, look at this. You know what, Mark? Now you're banned.
Just stop it.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in again. AJ and I will have to revisit this because I'm liking it more. You're liking it less. So maybe we'll have to talk about this on another episode. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. Thanks AJ and Steve. I know you guys couldn't make it till a little bit later this week, but great episode. That was fun. That was a very spirited discussion. So don't forget, guys, if you are watching on a video replay on YouTube, we are live on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel every other Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the audio replays wherever you find your podcasts. Just Google Nerf Herder Council. You'll find us right there. You can get your own customizable Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. We are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. The Twitter page is at NHC Podcast. The website is nerfherdercouncil.com. So one more time, I'm your host, JT, at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ.
At holding his computer, his microphone, and his green screen all at once.
He is Steve.
At Nerf Herder Steve.
And we will catch you next time. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.